Welcome to new churros, we about to drop. I like to take things easy, nice and slow. Nothing better, get some weather, so let's start the churros. Let's go. Eat that sticky grub.
Hello and welcome to the Churros y Tácticas Podcast, where we are here on a Tuesday to talk about Barcelona almost dropping points against Celta Vigo. Oh no, wait, we're not going to talk about that. We're going to talk about Real Madrid grinding it out against Getafe. Oh wait, not about that. No. We're going to talk about Rubiales throwing Sevilla, Valencia, and Villarreal under the bus. Let's not talk about that. Let's talk about this godforsaken Kylian Mbappe, who once again could not wait until 2024 to bring himself back to the limelight. I honestly thought we had 2 years of at least somewhat peace. No news in the transfer window on him, nothing. Like 3 years, okay, like it was initially going to be 3 years, but then we found out after 2 years, it's 2 years plus the option. But he's unhappy, he wants out. Multiple reputable people are reporting it, and we got to talk about it because the people want us to talk about it. That's what the churros is all about. Churros is for the people. And, we'll have a lot of time to talk about Barcelona absolutely thumping Inter tomorrow. We can talk about that later this week, so no worries there. Anyway, Diego Lorijn is here. He's all ready to go, jazzed up, back from the studio, I'm assuming. You were at work today?
Yes. The new Barca news. We're shooting the pilot on Friday. I have the pleasure and the honor of presenting that as of Monday. So anybody that is subscribed to the Barca TV Plus platform or follows us, be on the lookout for that. Finally, I'll be back in front of the camera after having been pulled off of Barca Live.
All right. Well, is that for Patreon edition? This is news to me. All right, yes. Patreon edition. We'll talk about that. Well, but So the new Barca news. Sorry, and starting next week, Monday. I'm happy to be presenting that. But yes, man, my goodness, what a bomb has dropped on our laps. Of course, a lot to discuss, a lot to delve into. A lot of Madridistas. I don't know how you guys are feeling. So I'm curious to get your thoughts, Kiyan. Of course, we have the Champions League preview. I will tell you how 99.9% of the Madridistas feel, and they don't want any part of this. And I think they're correct in thinking that. Okay. And this is not a look, me personally, and first of all, just to preface this discussion by saying, I don't think Real Madrid will try to sign him this winter. I don't think they will. Unless there's a dramatic 180 turn based on the information we have right now, in which case then we'd have to cross that bridge when we get there. But as of right now, everyone... And based on what we know at Managing Madrid, Lucas Navarrete's sources, and also what we've been reading, Real Madrid don't want to go near this again and be toyed with. So,
interesting.
I think they're correct in thinking that way. And I will also tell you this. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, for listeners who maybe live under a rock, maybe you want to break down exactly the details, what happened before we get into the possible...
that's a good point. Imagine if people just had no idea what we were talking about. They'd just been at work all day. They who were they talking about?
What's going on? Yeah.
So Kylian Mbappe wants to leave PSG. Maybe we can start there. Multiple people have reported this, and Julien Laurent of ESPN wrote an article outlining why this is the case. Here are some quotes from the article. Sources said Mbappe thinks promises made by sporting director Luis Campos, president Nasser Al-Khelaifi, and manager Christophe Galtier have not been kept. Sources close to Mbappe say he made a mistake by agreeing a new deal to stay at the club in May. Who could have seen that coming? One of the promises was that Mbappe would play with a number 9 next to him in attack who could play as a pivot, but this has not happened. the World Cup winner with France was also told that PSG would recruit another center back, which did not happen in the summer, while Mbappe's relationship with Neymar has deteriorated, sources said. Listen, I don't think it's crazy that there's been a meltdown there. Across many sports, when you stack superstar after superstar on top of each other, things tend to go wrong. There are chemistry issues. There are sometimes tactical issues. There are balance issues. Not always, but in many cases. And especially if the pieces have just personality issues too, or at least personality meshing issues. And I think, like, first of all, Mbappe is playing with one of the greatest players of all time, arguably the greatest players of all time. And on the other side,
he's having a great season.
He is. And on the other side, he has Neymar, who is one of the greatest attacking players of our generation. And so I don't know what he was
also having a good season.
And I don't know what he was expecting to bench one of those guys for number 9. And to have that happen before the transfer window closes, and now to be surprised that doesn't happen, I don't know what he was expecting, unless the discussion was, okay, well, we put Messi in midfield, we get a striker, in which case all of the balance issues that you had last year are going to be even worse. So there's that. And I'm just kind of surprised we're having this discussion a few months after. It has not even been half a year, I don't think, since he signed.
Yeah.
And I was expecting maybe in 2-3 years, and then along the way we'll have little hiccups and bumps or whatever happens, some drama. But this is just the fact that he wants to leave now in the winter transfer window is an unbelievable scenario. My hunch is that I think teams just won't take a gamble on him. And eventually after the World Cup, hear me out. After the World Cup, things will just kind of calm down, and he'll just be like, and they'll calm him down and be like, okay, you just stay here, just sit, and we'll figure it out in the either winter transfer window. We'll sign someone, or after the World Cup, we'll bring somebody in, or just wait it out. Everyone will calm him down. The reason I said what I said, Diego, is that obviously people will try to sign him, but I also think that their teams will be very cautious of his behavior. And I think most Madridistas are correct in their assessment of not wanting to sign him at this point. I personally, I'll speak for myself. Do I have doubts over his talent? No. Do I have doubts that he's one of the best players in the world? No, I don't. Do I have doubts over the conflict he'd bring with him? Yes. Do I have conflicts that his personality would mesh with Real Madrid's players and the unity we have? Yes. Do I have doubts that he would be able to not cause problems when he arrives here? Yes. Do I have doubts that he would even want to stay beyond a year or two? Yeah, I do. Who's to say he doesn't come to Real Madrid and after a year he's like, I want to leave? This is the kind of volatile superstar you're dealing with, that you had in the Kyrie Irvings, the Kevin Durant's. You have no guarantee if you bring these players and they'll want to stay with you. I totally understand that part. It's not just about talent. It's about chemistry. It's about unity. This has been proven in sports for years, decades. So I completely sympathize with Madridistas not wanting any part of this. Completely.
Yeah. Look, of course, I still think that there is a sector of Madridistas that will not care, and the idea coming to fruition, the dream of many Madridistas coming to fruition to see Mbappe dressed de blanco and scoring goals will cure any sort of hatred
that is factual,
or any sort of ill feelings. That's factual. I also think that potentially Mbappe coming to a club as big as Real Madrid would initially humble him. That's not to say that we couldn't see the entitled behavior that he has been displaying of late reappear in X amount of time. I think his initial arrival into a dressing room where the clear leader is Benzema, would you say?
Yeah, Benzema, Modric.
Modric, exactly. maybe Kroos. I would imagine that he would take a backseat and not be the spoiled crybaby that he is being right now in PSG, right?
I have no guarantee of that. I have no guarantee.
There's no guarantee. There's no guarantee. There's no guarantee. And if anything, I'm outlining a scenario of what the first few months would look like potentially if he were to come. I think, and we talked it about, we discussed it last time on the pod, that this es un niño mimado, very spoiled kid at the moment, and he's displaying this level of spoiledness to a degree that I don't think we have seen before of a player that just signed the biggest contract in football history, arguably. I don't know, potentially, right? I mean, I don't know if the exact numbers are out, but it's
say that last part again
to make that claim that he, a player who has just signed the biggest contract in football history.
Oh, yeah.
Of which the ink is still fresh, right? To now already start, how do you say that? Like kicking up a fuss and crying over certain players in certain positions not having arrived, and basically throwing the entire project which he signed for, throwing that out the window in such a short time, it's another warning flag. And sorry, the other point that I was alluding to is, we've seen this behavior, repeated behavior now already out on display. For example, when he was asked about whether he would consider taking a train due to the energy crisis and the carbon emissions of private jets, and he literally laughed it off, displaying again this level of immaturity and entitledness and spoiledness that is a red flag, and that you have to ask yourself as a club, as a coach, do I want that kind of personality in my team, regardless of how good he is? Because his talent is obviously undisputable, right? I don't know if there's any manager that could perhaps reason with that kind of character. It's Ancelotti, I would have to imagine. He is proven to be a great manager of personalities. He has got the pedigree and experience that would have to humble, the most veteran, the most experienced, and laureado, like the most decorated football player.
I don't buy it
in history, let alone
I don't think he can change.
Just starting.
He can obviously.
I
but
understand the questions.
Yeah. Sorry.
Go on.
I know you obviously anyone can change. But look at it's not like this has changed with the French national team. The French national team has its own problems too. Benzema's there. Think about if you can't play with players like Benzema and Lionel Messi and be humbled from that, and it takes the perfect manager like an Ancelotti or Zidane to get you to buy in and put your ego aside,
right? Then
that's just a red flag. What I need to bring in the perfect manager, Erling Haaland does not have this baggage. Cristiano Ronaldo didn't have this baggage. No. Lionel Messi did not have this baggage. So why should play? And those are players like Messi and Ronaldo for sure, greater than him. Haaland, it's debatable. I think many people will have an opinion on that either way. But
I think
you can get superstars.
Would take it.
They would. You could get superstars in this day and age, and really throughout history of football, who come without the baggage. And I just, as the older I personally get, and the more I observe sports, the more I really, really believe in the idea of unity and talent, but certainly unity trumps everything. And it's extremely necessary in order to win championships. You have to be on the same page. The more on page you are with the talent you have, the better your chances are going to be, the less distractions you have, all that stuff. So it's not that he can't change, but it's not like he's also been playing with thugs his whole career. He's been playing with highly respectable players who can keep him in check, who can keep him humble, and can keep him focused. So I just like the idea of that his relationship with Neymar is disintegrated, or whatever the word used in the article. There's no guarantee that he could come to Real Madrid and then not mesh with another superstar. When you start to become the common denominator, you're the red flag, not the players around you. And that's what I'd be worried about. And that's why I personally would get that Real Madrid wouldn't touch this one.
Yeah. I mean, again, another warning sign we got just recently after the international break when in a post-match interview he said, well, here at France I play with a lot more freedom. I'm more comfortable here. So it was already early signs. I mean, these early signs, especially when it came to Neymar and him, we've been hearing about that since a while now, right? And I find it funny that these two guys are clashing when, to me, perhaps as a culé, their attitude and behavior is very similar. There's a lot of parallels in what we're seeing take place right now between a Neymar and an Mbappe. In my opinion, Neymar checking out early from the project that he had built, and very successfully so, at Barca. In that case, it was more of a money grab. It was, well, maybe he wants to step out of the shadow of Messi and create his own dynasty and team around him. That has clearly not worked out, despite the fact that he's having very good numbers. I think it's 11 goals, 9 assists. Earlier you mentioned, or Messi's, actually I don't know if you mentioned Messi's, but I mean, he's having a great season. Somebody like Mbappe, who I still consider as just starting out, despite him having won a World Cup with France and league titles with QSG that really clearly have no impact or significance anybody, let alone Mbappe, and who's eyeing the Champions League. For him to be so, I don't know what's the word, like whether it's salty, sour, dissatisfied already so soon, when he was made the focal point of that club, bringing in the coach. Didn't he bring in didn't the manager come in upon his requests? Didn't Luis Campos come in upon his request? I mean, he has literally built that club, not just from on the pitch, but off of it too. And now he's checking out. It's surreal.
Also, can he not just sell himself? If he's the sporting director, can he not just sell himself? That could be a good.
Look, I'll play devil's advocate a little bit, or maybe it's not devil's advocate, but I don't want to neither start some sort of lynch mob, and this news is still fresh. We don't know with 100% assurance whether these claims are true. It comes from Le Parisien.
Fair point.
The reputation of La Parisien, quite honestly, is unbeknownst to me. I don't know if they have much credibility, if they have a track record of bringing out these exclusive news bombs that hold
hit or miss
validity and truth. So, I guess we have to wait and see. It's one thing's for sure. It's that Paris Saint-Germain is a goddamn shit show at the moment. I thought that Barca, we were a club of kind of surrounded by turmoil of late and attention-grabbing headlines. But, I'd hate to be a QSG fan right now because it's just one after the other. And it's you wonder how sustainable it is, I guess. Is
well, okay, so yeah, those are all, if you're a PSG fan, like Messi and Neymar are getting older. Mbappe was one of the bridges to the future. To give them some solace is that I don't think Mbappe was ever going to stay long term, like beyond his mega contract.
Right.
They have a lot of money, and Luis Campos in charge, who is an extremely smart talent recruiter. I think him plus the infinite money, they'll be okay, with or without Mbappe. So they should find some solace in that, in my opinion. Mbappe.
Sorry, go finish your thought.
just that Mbappe's demands, it'll be interesting to see what team does go for him. There are a lot of reports that PSG will sell to Real Madrid, which is not a shocking surprise, even if those stories could be made up but still be true. PSG treat us the same way they treat Barca. It's the one thing, we've said it. It's the one thing that bands Real Madrid and Barcelona together is the rise against PSG. But
totally,
no team is going to match the salary given to him. Not even these really rich teams. And I don't think he necessarily will care about that because he got his massive bonus already, signing bonus, and he's still going to be making virtually an infinite amount of money. To me, if obviously I'm not a rich person. To me, if I was rich, I don't know what it means for my life and also my future my future grandchildren and whatnot and generations to come to have 310 million in my bank account as opposed to 300 million. I don't know what that 10 million difference is. I don't even understand how to process or register that because it's not my reality. But I can't imagine that would even matter at that point. I honestly, how much money are you going to pass down anyway? Don't you want your kids to work, and your grandchildren to work at least? I always thought that the ideology of sorting out your whole family tree and just passing all the money down forever and making infinite amount of money, it is in some ways this kind of bizarre that's a different discussion from just a philosophical standpoint. Don't you want your children to work anyway? That's besides the point.
To understand the value of hard work and money. Absolutely.
Sure. Anyways, that was besides the point. So just my point was it'll be interesting to see who will come into play. I mean, Liverpool has been one of the rumored ones, which would obviously make sense in a lot of ways because they could definitely use some help.
Newcastle, baby. New kid on the block. It's the Newcastle. The rise of Newcastle.
If Newcastle get him, that's just hilarious. Wouldn't that just be hilarious?
It would be amazing. I would find it very amusing. But the other thing here is where do PSG go from here? Clearly they're not going to sell him in January. I can't imagine. I mean, with the troubles that Barca have had to sign any player from Qatar Saint-Germain, it's from Berratti to Marquinhos, top of my mind here. If any come to you, please jump in. Or even the return of Neymar at some point was contemplated and rejected ever so quick by homeboy over there, Al Khelaifi. Where do they go from here? And on top of that, I mean, I didn't talk about this, Kiyan, but I did retweet it from the Churros account. A very reputable journalist, Veronica Brunati, who you might be familiar with, who was very close to the Messi camp. And when I say very close, I mean very, very close.
Mm-hmm.
Not sexually or anything, but I'm just saying, I don't know why I feel like I needed to add that.
You didn't need to add that. No, there was no need for that.
Sorry. Well,
that's okay.
Okay.
Churros.
She put out a tweet not very long ago and said that as of June 1st, 2023, Leo Messi will be a Barca player once again.
Uh-huh.
She would never tweet something like that if that didn't hold a grain of truth, okay? Sure. Now, she came on recently, I think it was yesterday, and I read this in passing because it's been very busy at the office. I didn't have time to delve into this article, where she sort of rectified and said this tweet that I put out is not based on information that has come my way or arrived to me through the Messi camp, sino por otro lado, but rather from other sources, good sources, valid sources. Otherwise, again, she wouldn't tweet something like that. But she said, this is not confirmed. This has not been confirmed to me by the Messi camp. And that has to be added because I think, she mentioned as well, of course, anything can happen. Let's say Messi does leave, right? PSG are desperate to keep him. They want to offer him another +1, year +1 contract, etc. They want to obviously hold on to him. If he checks out, if Neymar checks out, because it seems that they're done with Ney, and Mbappe leave, where does that leave QSG? Like, where do they go from there? I mean, so my point being, again, let's say that Messi leaves because he's like, look, I don't want to sign any extension. This club is fucking weird. I'm out of here. Neymar's like, I don't know how long he has left on his contract. I think it's 2024. They might be like, look, Ney, it's time to go, buddy. I can't see them letting go of Mbappe, no matter how fucking, how big of a shit Mbappe, kicks off over there. Al-Khelaifi, if one thing he has proven is that he's quote unquote a man of his word, meaning that if he doesn't want a player to leave and says you're not going to leave, that player is not fucking leaving. That is a golden cage, QSG. So just to keep that in mind.
That's the main point, is that they will have all the leverage in the world to be like, no. So you can just stay here, and you will stay here. And that's it. I mean, with regarding Messi and Neymar, I think we always knew that the shelf life of Messi at PSG, I always personally felt was pretty small window. It wasn't necessarily the forever thing. He's a bit older. I think he'll want to, go back to Barca at some point if he is able to,
or MLS,
or wherever. And so I just felt like that was always, and like I said, Mbappe was the piece where that could bridge it, and you keep it going, and he becomes the leader, the future leader. I don't know if he's capable of leading a team in that way, from a leadership standpoint, not from a talent standpoint, but from a leadership standpoint. And the other aspect of this is, again, like I mentioned, if Luis Campos, if PSG themselves are smart enough to give Luis Campos the keys with an infinite amount of money, then I think they'll be fine. I think they can replenish. There will be new stars that come. They'll go through maybe a couple years of growing pains, but I think they have at least the brain power in Luis Campos to bounce back. There is that, but
it'll be a massive setback, though.
Yeah, it will be. I mean, the fact that if
I'm looking forward to it. Don't get me wrong. I have no sympathy.
Sure, no. I mean, if the Messi, Mbappe, Neymar era ends without a Champions League trophy, I think we'd all consider it a failure, right?
Of course.
Yeah.
100%.
Depending, like if they get to the final or something at least, and then they lose through some freak stuff or the penalty shootout, then you can at least have a leash with that and be like, okay, well, they got this far, they had a bad bounce, whatever. But last year they were eliminated in the round of 16, and they literally melted, they withered, they turned into dust with any little pressure that blew on them. They turned into dust. And so if they go through something like that again, or if they exit early. And again, this is where chemistry and unity comes into play. A team that is united and playing great football, and they're on the same page, and they don't have the distractions of what's happening in the locker room and off the field. It's just going to be harder. It's going to be hard to face a team like that if you're just thinking about all these things. So there's that.
How much are they going to ask for Mbappe? Let's say they do put him up on the auction block.
I don't know.
400? We're going to see a record breaker. I mean, right now the record is with Ney, right? Still 222. 222. Shout out to Rick Rouse. But it would have to break that, no? Yeah, I said 400, right?
Yeah.
Sport is just saying, and I'm just opening this article now. PSG would ask for 400 million. Oh, so según Foot Mercato. So they're quoting this from another media outlet.
Yeah, I mean, this stuff.
They're saying Antero Enrique, the right-hand man. Sorry, Kiyan. Antero Enrique, the right-hand man of President Al-Khelaifi, he has already put un precio de salida, a exit price, and it's nothing more, nothing less than 400 million.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, like, at this point, this is where you lose me. I don't really know how to make sense of numbers at this point. I don't know. I just know numbers don't really make sense to me anymore. And the fact that what his signing bonus was 200 million or close to it at least, and he wants to leave a few months later, that is in itself is going to be expensive. Like, they'll probably want to get their signing bonus back at the very least, right? Like, because otherwise, why give a briefcase of money and all this power for a player who just gets up and leaves and wants to breach a contract? Even though they don't care about money, but they will. I mean, they obviously care about money on some level, but they will for sure just want to send a message. Like, no one's going to play us. We're not going to give this free money and then someone comes in and just takes him for this amount of money. You guys think you're going to play us? This is what it's going to take. It's going to be a large number.
You want to hear one more twist to this story?
Yes.
Cope, Cadena Cope, you're probably familiar with them. Spanish radio station, large audience. They have just reported that tomorrow, traveling to the capital of España, are Sergio Ramos, Donnarumma, Keylor Navas, and Kylian Mbappe.
This is
12th of October, 7 o'clock, for some promotional thing, like a promotional act.
This is the most annoying thing about this whole thing is that it's on the timing falls on another trip to Madrid. Last time he did this too. Remember, he went to Madrid. He had lunch with Ashraf.
Yeah, exactly.
Ramos. I think you and I actually talked about that when it happened. We were discussing like, just hop on your private jet for a short flight to Madrid from Paris. Yeah. Have lunch, come back before the night is over. This is because he's probably there for something completely different. This is now going to be a huge thing. There's going to be cameras following his every move to Madrid. I just don't see it. So I got to go pick up my kid in 15 minutes. I wanted to upload this podcast before that. But if we're doing Patreon edition later in the week, then we can talk about Barca's Manita to Inter, and then we can also talk about everything else. Real Madrid also plays in an hour and 15 minutes from now, so I gotta upload that before the upload this.
Do what you gotta do.
All right, man.
All right.
Well, I didn't expect to be talking about this today, and sorry to all our listeners, but kind of not sorry because I know you guys did want us to talk about this, even if you won't admit to it. So. Hope you enjoyed it, and hope that we don't have to talk about it again for another, I don't know. I don't even know what I'm going to say. We're going to have to talk about it tomorrow probably, so no promises. Anyways, Clásico's coming up, so hopefully we get to talk about football then. And until next time, patreon.com/Churros y Tácticas will be our next episode. So hop on there for the raw edition, which will be much rawer than this. If you thought this was raw, it gets way rawer. So rawer.
Oh, baby, I like it raw.
All right, Diego. It was fun, man.
Yeah, baby,
thanks,
I
buddy.
like it raw. It always is, buddy.
Peace out.
Catch
Take
you
care.
on the flip. Peace.